Okay. So you're in this horrible situation at home, and then the situation with your older brother happens. And you were 16 at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so for 4 years, you had to go through this situation
Yes.
at home?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the situation with your brother. So I guess you were going out to a basketball game with your friends, your mom, well, sorry, your aunt told you to be home at a certain time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me this story.
Okay, so I was basically going to a football game or whatever, and my aunt did tell me that I had to be home at a certain time or I wouldn't be able to get in the house. So I said, okay, I'm gonna make sure I come home early. So I went with my friends to a game, and then when I come back home, I came back an hour early than my usual time I'm supposed to be home. And when I came back, the lights in the house was on. So I knocked on the door because I knew that they were home. When I knock on the door, they look through the peephole and then they cut the light off to act like they're not there. Like you see me knocking on the door, open the door. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when my little sister came down and they said, "Oh, you can't come in. You got to find somewhere else to stay because you was late." Da da da. And I'm like, "Yo, I'm an hour early," but I'm just like, "All right, whatever." I start walking because now I have to find a place to sleep tonight. I'm only 16 years old, and I'm not about to sleep on the streets, you know what I'm saying? So then that's when my brother come outside, and then that's the whole situation. He's asking me for money, saying he needs money, this, that, and the third. And I'm telling him I don't have any money. Then I'm telling him like, yo, you see this woman just kicked me out the house. I'm already going through my own problems. Leave me alone. He's like, yo, that's your fault. You shouldn't be out there being a hoe. You shouldn't be out there being a hoe. He was like, so you're not gonna give me no money? I said no. And then that's when he punched me in my face. He punched me in my face. And I just remember once he punched me, I just remember blacking out and only seeing stars. And then I just woke up. My body was on the ground, and it was just blood squirting out of my mouth. And I just started screaming, "Could somebody help me? Please, could somebody help me?" And then that's when the neighbors came outside and they started screaming at my brother, "How could you do that to a girl? How could you do that to a girl?" And they called the ambulance. And then the ambulance came and got me. And then my aunt had to come outside. And they when we got to the hospital, they said it's either he has to leave the house because it's not safe for her to stay there, or she has to leave. And she chose to make me leave.
That's crazy. Okay. So he hit you just with his fist or with an object?
With his fist.
Okay. How many stitches did you have in your lip?
I don't know how many stitches I had.
But it was a lot.
It was a lot.
When you were in the hospital and you finally looked in the mirror and you saw the stitches and the dried blood and everything else like that, what went through your head?
I felt ugly. I felt like, yo, this man just ruined me. He just made me ugly. And I hated looking in the mirror because I had a big, huge thing on my lip. Huge scar. And it was hurting. I couldn't eat. I had to eat through a straw for like weeks.
Okay, so after this situation happened, you couldn't live in your aunt's house anymore. So that's when Child Protective Services came in and took you?
Yes.
Okay, and then they put you into the foster system.
Yeah, and I was in detention centers as well because I was like fighting. I was in 8 different foster homes.
Well, before I get into that part, did you and your older brother, the one that hit you, ever speak again after that situation?
I went back home when I was 18. I came back and we did speak, but he never said sorry.
He never said sorry.
Never. They just
Even though
said,
he's looking at you and he could see what he did to you just by looking at you in the face.
yes.
How did you feel when he never apologized?
I felt like he didn't care. I felt like he didn't care about me. Like he just felt like he could just do what he wanted to do. He didn't care about it. That hurt me. But like they just wanted us to just move on. They said, let's just move on. We family. Let's just move on.
Okay, so from 16 to 18, you were just foster home to foster home to foster home. And I've interviewed a lot of, women in a similar position where I remember one told me she lived in like 25 foster homes. And,
After
another
18,
one,
I went back.
oh, okay.
I went back in the system. I left the system. My caseworker told me not to and to not trust it. But I was like, I'm going back home to my family. I know that sounds crazy, right? But that was just my mindset. Then, like, it was the same thing. So I left and I went back to the system. I stayed in there until I was like 22.
Wow.
I'm 22 right now. I'm about to be 23 though.
Well, going through all these foster homes, were there nice families or were there some nightmares along the way also?
In the foster homes, there was nice families, but then there was not so nice families. Like one of the family members I was at with this lady, she wouldn't take care of the kids. It'd be like, she'd leave the kids pissy and just smell like piss and filled in the room. And I had to sleep in the room with them. We all shared the room. She would treat her kids better than the foster kids. They'd treat us like shit and treat her kids better than how they treat us. Cause they was just using us for checks.
Right.
And in some foster homes, there was this one lady who was a Spanish lady, and she only like adopted teens, and she was nice. It was fun there. And it was somewhere like it was this other lady where we couldn't drink. This foster lady, she had me at her house. She wouldn't let us drink soda. Now we had to drink milk and water. I was not with that drinking milk and water. How am I eat chicken and then drink milk? I said, Miss, I'm not with that. And then another thing, it was no Wi-Fi at the house. I'm a teenager at the end of the day. I want to be on Facebook. I want to see what my friends is talking about. And I want to like post. But no, we can't even be on. We don't have no Wi-Fi. The only thing we had was DVDs. I got about there. I was there for one day. I got up out of there the next day. I wasn't staying with that lady. She crazy.
Okay. So as you're going through all this, at what point did you actually start looking at music? Because at first you started with poetry, right?
I started with poetry since I was a little girl.
Okay, so as a little girl, you started writing poetry. At what point did you say, hey, maybe I could take these poems and turn them into raps?
16 years old.
16. Okay, so was that before or after the incident with your brother?
After that, that was before the incident with my brother, but it wasn't until when I was in foster care, that's when I wrote the most raps. My creativity just went crazy in foster care.
Okay. And you're a big fan of the movie Scarface.
I ain't gonna lie, sort of.
Sort of. Okay, because your name isn't it sort of a play off of Scarface?
My name is Scarlett. And then I got it from
that.
Scarface. Yeah, it was a part
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So basically, based on the movie Scarface, you came up with the name Scarlett.
Yes.
Did you really struggle for a while with that name? Were you like, I don't know if I want to put that out there like that, or no, I'm going to stick with it?
I had to put that out there so that I wouldn't feel ashamed anymore. I put Scarlett because if I call myself, yeah, I got a scar on my lip. Yeah, people make fun of me. People talk about me, say I got herpes. They say all of these type of things about me. But if I put Scarlett and call myself it, I'll be confident and nobody will be able to make me feel less than who I am. So that's why I made my name Scarlett.
I love that. I absolutely love it. You take the full control. I mean, it's almost like, like when I interviewed Conway, Conway the Machine, how half of his face was affected by the gunshot. He went and got a chain of his face. He's like, yo, here's my face for all y'all to see. He made a big gold diamond chain out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like he embraced it. I love when people take a negative and embrace it and turn it into a positive.